Welcome to On the Edge. I'm Max Keiser. Time now to go to Bangkok. Talk to John Kim of smartknowledgeu.com. John, welcome back to On the Edge.
Thank you, Max. It's good to be back.
All right, John, before LIBOR, most commentators dismissed such conspiracies as a preposterous notion. Now we know that, of course, manipulating LIBOR rates and other interest rates is endemic throughout the system around the world. But the question is, now that global interest rates have been exposed as a fraud and manipulation is rife, is it a far stretch to now understand finally that price of gold and silver are also manipulated?
No, not at all. I think the LIBOR scandal is a great thing as far as getting exposure for those that claim that gold and silver are being manipulated. Because, I think, Max, if we look at the history, we have documentation from the U.S. Federal Reserve itself from dating back from 1975, when then Fed Chairman Arthur Burns basically admitted to, sent a memo to the President of the United States at the time, admitting to gold price suppression. And then, we have 20 years later, 1995, where again, there are documents that prove the Federal Reserve engaged in gold swaps, either between other central banks or with other bullion banks. So, the evidence has always been there. It's just the fact that people have been slow to recognize the fact that's been manipulated. And I think certainly the LIBOR scandal will contribute to, mass media acceptance of gold and silver manipulation. At least I hope it will.
Yeah, in the memo written from Arthur Burns to Richard Nixon after Nixon went off the gold standard in 1971, he explicitly says that if you want to do this, if you want to go to a pure fiat money system, you will have to manipulate the price of gold down, make sure that that price of gold cannot trade freely, because then it'll upset your whole scheme for a purely fiat money system. And that's set in motion 40 years of fraud, and now we've got the current global crisis as a result of it. Now, John, prior to the LIBOR crime being exposed, you wrote a blueprint to kill J.P. Morgan's alleged massive manipulation in silver. So walk us through this.
Sure. Well, it goes along a lot of the lines of your buy an ounce of silver, kill J.P. Morgan campaign as well. I've been telling people since 2006 that the way we can end this fraudulent banking and monetary system is simply to buy physical gold and physical silver. And the physical silver market, if you look at it, there's only about 1 billion ounces of supply every year, Max. And out of those billion ounces of silver, since silver has industrial uses and other uses as well, there's only about 260, 270 million ounces of physical silver available to retail and institutional investors like you and me. But as we all know, on the COMEX, it's so fraudulent that sometimes they'll trade 250 million ounces of paper silver in a minute. And in fact, they basically average about 100 million ounces of paper silver every day. So we're talking about, that 270, 280 million ounces of silver that's available to, retail and institutional investors for the entire year being traded every 2.8 days. So, the way to break that scandal, to get people to realize that there's a huge, huge gap between the perception of silver supply and the reality of silver supply, is simply to buy physical silver. And in that regard, say we take just 5% of the 1.3 billion Chinese, if we just ask them to buy 1 ounce of silver at $28 an ounce, that will consume 6% of the annual global silver supply. If we take a country like Japan, ask every single person in Japan to buy 1 ounce of silver, we're going to be taking